Our key guest today, and I'm delighted to introduce Eboh, who has worked at Virgin Money for 7 years. If we could have the screen on Ugo now. Ugo's career at Virgin Money spanned across commercial and risk functions and is currently the cultural and capability lead within digital engineering. Prior to working at Virgin Money, he had spent 10 years at MBNA credit cards. His interest around inclusion came through his cross-cultural experience in childhood, being brought up by his white foster parents, whilst interspersing time in his natural home of African heritage in Birmingham. Ugo found the interplays between the two cultures, African England and black and white, fascinating, yet at times difficult to maneuver around. Now that interest is generated into a more meaningful output, resulting in Ugo becoming one of the co-chairs of the Virgin Money Embrace Network. And a lot of networks now call themselves Embrace, which is great. And having felt personally affected by the recent Black Lives Matter movement, he is keen to see the business truly become a bank that stands for something. So a very huge good morning and welcome to Ugo. Thank you for joining us today.
No, it's good to be here. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, lovely. Thank you. So from an earlier conversation we had, and we've really enjoyed talking to you and build up to this, I understand that as a co-chair of the Embrace Network, you've been instrumental in turning it around. What wasn't working in the past and what did you do and that would you cite as key success factors to make it work now?
Yeah, I'd say there are three key things, and I'll step into each one. But first, I need to say apologies for completely taking everybody's poll off earlier. I had a button in front of me that said end poll, which I thought was to close the poll. There you go. It was me. Secondly, I need to be really transparent. So when I talk about co-chair, it wasn't just me that was instrumental. There was four of us that were really key in driving forward our network. And it was hard work. So I mean, I'll say that up front. One of the first things is to recognize that it was a particular season that our organization was going through. We were merging two companies, Virgin Money and Clydesdale Bank. So it was a bit of a takeover, but we were merging the networks. Of course, obviously a lot of focus was on the merge. We weren't getting the level of support that we needed really at the top level. And we were struggling really to engage our exec sponsor. We're constantly having to kind of provide a golden bullet. What's the golden bullet? Why do we need to do this? Why is it important? So we all got to the stage where we nearly wanted to quit. So we got to 2019 and we were like, right, we're going to give this one last try. And it was really interesting to hear the video before with Carl, because it was that kind of approach. It was like, right, we're going to give it one last try. We're going to set ourselves up quite strategically. As you heard from my intro, I'm a strategy analyst by trade. So strategy is key to me. Focused attention, pre-planning, that's all my kind of BAU and my day-to-day, and I'll talk a little bit about why that's important for you guys as well. But we set ourselves to look at four key areas: how we engage our external organizations, how we liaise with our senior leadership team, how we liaise with our members and get understanding of what they want and our ethnic minority colleagues, and how do we just also have fun? How do we celebrate and think about religious festivals and things like that? How do we celebrate everything that is to do with race and ethnicity? So the four of us took a strand each and we used that as our strategy. And we went into the early 2020, it was going really well. And then we all know what happened then. We hit COVID, we hit Black Lives Matter, and then everything popped off. And what was really key is that we'd taken that strategic approach, and then from Black Lives Matter, our senior leaders, our board, our execs, they all wanted to kind of think, like, what do we as an organization do? And because we had that strategy in place, it really made our engagement with them a lot easier. We were able to give some really clear ideas. Okay, this is what we want to achieve as a network. Here's how you can support. They would then give their experience, their thoughts into that. And it just gave us a real good focus to how to really shift the dial on sort of ethnicity, representation, support in the organization. One of the key phrases our exec sponsor used was the word agitator, and we were able to give her the tools to be a real agitator in the business. Just like I see, Nini, you said what were the four strands? So external focus, senior leader engagement, members and colleagues, what do they need and understanding who they are, and then sort of celebration, having fun.
Brilliant. Yeah, thank you. And I think in a previous thing, what Carl shared, it was about having that clear purpose and also terms of reference. What's the purpose of this group? And as you said, when you got at the level, it's much more strategic and aligned. So echoing what's been working out there. Thank you. What activity has the network been involved in, and what impact has it had?
So we We are now down to 3 chairs. We had the 4, one stepped away to focus on other things. So we've got the 3 chairs. And one of the biggest things that we did recently was expand our what I'd call a committee. And I'm using real strong phrases like committee, structure, strategy. And, you talked about your TORs, your terms of references, because that's the mindset that we went in with and continue to go with, which is what's seen us deliver some really powerful things. So we expanded our committee to have like a subcommittee of 10 people, with each person having a key focus on one area. So one might be focused on learning and development. Okay, so we have a bank-wide learning and development platform. How is that focused on ethnicity? One of them will be working on communities. What are we doing in the communities around us? So each person had a particular focus, raising awareness of the network, delivering roadshows to the different departments within the bank. There's some of the key activities, and the subcommittee was really key to kind of driving that. So each person had one focus, because for a lot of people, this is side of desk. Each person has one focus to kind of drive that forward and get there. And then you start stepping into what I would call is kind of validity. You put some validity behind your network, and then people are interested in what your point of view is, what you have to say, and then you see your network influence increase. So we kind of influence business decisions and even some of the direction that businesses take. So we meet with our board members twice a year, and we kind of articulate and deliver what we want to see, what our strategic objective is, and that kind of influences their decisions in the wider field of the whole bank. We get to work with our brand and marketing, kind of go through all the material, say, well, that's not very diverse, this isn't quite diverse. You talked about my little bio at the beginning. I was able to kind of articulate how amazing it is that we see Black representation in males, but it's always very much with a white female. And coming from a mixed family myself, that I know how kind of divisive that can be to Black females. And actually, it's very rare you see a Black family as a whole and the kind of impacts that has. And, you change the mindset of people within your whole business, where actually key areas there. And, we were able to deliver a career sponsorship program working with our recruitment team, and where we've got 30 ethnic minority colleagues who are able to go on this career program, drive forward their own careers and expand. We have a great catch-ups with our HR. So we get our HR strategy versus our ethnicity strategy. We drive the two together. We can able to deliver some great things. And then we hold some brilliant events, which I'll talk on a little bit in a minute.
Thank you. I think what's shining there, and only a few organizations we're aware of, is where it's become part of the business. So the business comes to it shows, I think, the value, the validity, the power of it. And I think it's because of the strategic and the earlier work you had done. And I think that's what we're trying to share with other networks is, if you can get into that position, then you become part of the business and a real asset. So thank you for sharing that. And as I said, we are videoing this, so people can access what Ugo's been saying later, and do share with your other members in your networks.
Just on that, Javid, and I know we're short of time, but if I think about the concept of the validity piece, it's really key. Think about a lot of you, this is side of desk, right? So just think about your day-to-day role. Who are the people that you have respect for? Who are the people that you invest time with? Who are the people that come to you, and when they say something, you listen, you hear it? It's those that have kind of built up that rapport. It's those that have built up that validity. Those people where you've seen tangible results. So when they say something, they can either deliver on it or they're going to do it. These networks are no different. And in fact, it's bringing that day-to-day into these side of desk kind of roles that really drives things forward.
So in effect, it's professionalizing it, isn't it?
Correct.
Yeah. The Embrace Network has many allies as members. What benefits and impact have you seen as a result of this?
It's a great question. So I talked a little bit about the events slightly before. We've done some strong events. We've had people like John Barnes and Shaka Hislop, Anita Asante come in and talk to us about racism in football. It's quite funny because it wasn't funny actually. They came to us and we did a session on taking the knee and racism in football just before the Euros. And then everyone knows what happened at the end of the England Euros. It was like everything we just talked about 2 months prior happened there and then. So that was quite powerful. But we started an allyship program called Getting Comfortable with the Uncomfortable, which has been one of our other kind of flagship events that we've done. And what we do is the program is interviewing ethnic minority colleagues on different topics, and it's basically getting one of our committee members who is an ally, who's not ethnic minority, she's white, and she asks those really uncomfortable questions that we just know so many of our allies would like to ask, want to know, understand more. And that has generated a lot of interest because allies are coming, they get into, so I even pre-ask the questions. So the questions that they get asked to the ethnic minorities are delivered. They get to talk about some of the things, listen to the Q&A at the end, engage with that. And you just see so many of our allies really key and interested in that. I mean, I'll be really honest with you. We've got a 3 to 4% population of ethnic minorities in our bank. So, 95, 6, 7% of our workforce are allies. So we can't just be so siloed and thinking about our ethnic minorities only. Whilst it is important that we are delivering for them, allies make a big part of that, because at the end of the day, they are creating the environment for the 3 to 4%. How do you engage them? Well, you give them lived experiences from the good to the bad. I talked about fun before. A really great example is one of our colleagues shared about Haribo going vegan, because that suddenly meant that a whole load of Muslims within our organization can enjoy Haribo sweets. So all those allies that have been bringing in their party sweets for however many years suddenly realize that actually I can involve all my colleagues in this. And so that impact with your allies is really key, because they create that environment for your ethnic minority colleagues.
Brilliant, fantastic. And related to the sort of discussion group we just had, what skills have you had to develop as a co-chair, and how did you develop them?
So I was in the session, maybe it's probably the same one that Carl was in before when he did that video. And I think the lady that was on used the phrase CEO, and you do, it's a brilliant phrase, and I've taken it on board. It's stuck in my head. You have to see yourself as a CEO. This is side desk. This is, you're doing this probably on top of your day job, probably doing some extra hours for some people. For some people, it's their paid job and great, but for a lot of people, it's not. But you have to think like a CEO. You have to think about your purpose, your terms of reference, your strategy. It's everything that Carl talked about, being prepared, pre-emptying your sessions, going into meetings with some kind of thought about what is the agenda, what is the minimum standard that I need to come out of this meeting with, and then facilitating that exact environment. And, I love the concept we had before where you say, go and study good and bad meetings. In your day-to-day job, you will have good and bad meetings. Why was it bad? What were you seeing that didn't work? Why was it good? What were you seeing that did work? What does that leader or that influencer or that chair do in the meeting of operational workforce, or in the meeting of strategic design for the business? Nothing to do with D&I. What do they do that's good? And they were the kind of skills I was able to build up myself. Because of it, I then got recognized for a future business leader course, where I then got to learn even more kind of skills such as resilience, growth mindset, all those key pieces that, as a chair, they're really important, because otherwise your network won't flow and your network won't grow. So that they were I'd echo everything that Carl talked about in that video. Think of yourself as a CEO. And the last thing I'll probably finish with, I know that D&I is seen as sometimes quite an emotive, touchy-feely concept, and that is great, and that should never be lost. But if you overlay some strategy and some kind of focus and real clarity over the top of that, it becomes more powerful and more potent than anything else you can deliver.
Absolutely, thank you. And I think it's important to say, look outside the everyday life and your business, what functions are going really well, and then just bring that, cut and paste, I call it, bring it into the how to run them networks. Absolutely fantastic. So thank you for your time, Ugo.